You're now standing in front of Morven Museum and Gardens. It's one of the most beautiful colonial mansions in existence today in Princeton. It's now a museum. At one time, it was the governor's mansion, and prior to that, it was the personal residence of Robert Wood Johnson, who rented the property for 16 years. Prior to that, it was owned by the Stockton family. The original owner was Richard Stockton. Richard Stockton was a signer of the Declaration of Independence. He had graduated from Princeton University and was considered the wealthiest Princetonian in 1776. From July 1776 until November, when he was taken captive, he actually paid for the entire Revolutionary War. Princeton had three other signers of the Declaration of Independence: John Witherspoon, the college president, John Hart, and of course Benjamin Rush, who actually was the youngest graduate of Princeton University. He graduated at the age of 13. Now, everyone knows we'll sign the Declaration of Independence in 1776, but a lot of people don't know that by 1783, we hadn't paid all of our soldiers, and many of the Revolutionary War soldiers were upset about it. Our Continental Congress will be meeting in Philadelphia, and they'll get word that some of those soldiers are getting restless. They'll decide to come to Princeton for a 4-month period over the summer of 1783, and they'll meet inside Nassau Hall, and they'll live in surrounding neighborhoods of Princeton. During that time, they're going to receive the Treaty of Paris, and simply put just means the rest of the world agreed we were a free nation. That's why Princeton is technically the first capital of the United States, and that's why this house that you're standing in front of is technically the first White House. Now, we have no proof that George Washington spent the night in Morven, so why would I say that it's the first White House? Because George Washington was not the first president of the United States. He wasn't. He was the first elected president. The first president was the guy running the Continental Congress when we received the Treaty of Paris, and the rest of the world agreed we were a free nation. And that president was Elias Boudinot, the brother of the owner of Morven at the time. Her name was Annis, and that's why Morven is technically the first White House. Princeton's been home to 4 other United States presidents. The 4th president of the United States, James Madison, actually attended Princeton. Of course, everyone knows he's the father of the Constitution. He was also classmates with Aaron Burr, Jr. Most people don't know that he was actually fixed up with Dolly Madison by Aaron Burr, Jr. Aaron Burr, Jr. used to complain that Princeton was full of dull, plain, old maids. Many people say that's why he went into Philadelphia and found Dolly Madison, who would eventually fall in love with his dear friend. James Madison was actually 5'4", and he only weighed 100 pounds. Grover Cleveland was the 22nd and 24th president of the United States, and he retired to Princeton, eventually became a trustee to the university. When the local newspaper interviewed Grover Cleveland about what he thought about Princeton, he said his only complaint with Princeton is that maybe there wouldn't be enough hunting. So the students, in a famous prank, actually took 100 ducks and put them in the front lawn of his famous residence. A lot of people thought Grover Cleveland might get upset with that. He actually thought it was delightful. Grover Cleveland's wife, Frankie, was one of the most popular first ladies of her day. When they married, he was 51 years old, and she was only 19. A lot of his political advisors didn't think he should marry someone so young, but they guessed wrong because the American public loved Frankie. In fact, she would change her style of dress, and all the American women would follow. The same was true with her hairstyle as well. She and Grover had a baby named Ruth, and they affectionately called her Baby Ruth. Most people will tell you that Baby Ruth is the namesake for the famous candy bar. We've already talked about how instrumental Woodrow Wilson was to the development of Princeton University. He would go on to become governor of New Jersey and eventually president of the United States, instrumental during World War I and the League of Nations. A lot of people don't know Woodrow Wilson actually signed for women to be able to vote on Chambers Street in the old firehouse right here in Princeton. Now, my favorite president who spent time here in Princeton was John F. Kennedy. He was part of the great class of 1939 at Princeton University. Now, every history book gets this story wrong. History books will tell you that JFK showed up to Princeton to be part of the great class of 1939. 6 weeks into his freshman year, supposedly he got really sick, and Rose Kennedy showed up, and she saw that her son was ill, so she pulled him out of Princeton, she cleaned him up, and she got him into Harvard, where he would complete his education. A lot of people in Princeton say that's not what happened at all. You go to some of these shops that have got multi-generations living in those shops, they'll say that's not what happened at all. What they heard is that JFK showed up to be part of the great class of 1939. 6 weeks into his freshman year, they'll tell you that Rose Kennedy showed up for the surprise freshman visit. She realized little Johnny was skipping class. She knew he was so far behind in the curriculum there was no way Princeton would graduate her son. So she pulled him out of Princeton. She cleaned him up, and she got him into Harvard, where everyone knows they'll give anybody a degree. Y'all know I don't know if that's true or not. It's a good joke. Even if you went to Harvard, stay in a good mood. We're just playing with you.